Hey, welcome to the Construction Technology Podcast. My name's Jeremy, and I work with Beard Technology Solutions out of Northeast Florida. This is the very first episode of this podcast, and I want to take the time to make helpful content for people that can kind of just help their everyday life using this construction technology and be able to have it in their back pocket whenever they need it. In this episode, I want to go over how your USB stick needs to be set up for job files and how to create a project in the tablet itself. So if you follow along, let's get started. So on our tablet here, as soon as we input the USB stick, we'll get a window screen that pops up and it will show us what is on the USB stick. So I like to double check and make sure the USB stick is set up right if I'm not the one that did it. So here's our USB stick, and the tablet is going to be looking for information that's in the data folder. If you don't have a data folder and your job files are just on the home page of the USB stick, it won't look for it there. So you need to make a folder and name it data. If you're on your laptop, you can just right click and do a new folder and name it. If you're on your tablet, you can just, with your finger, press and hold and go to new and go to folder and name it that way. And then if your files are here, you can just copy and paste them into the data folder. So looking inside the data folder, we have our files here to start. The DXF, that's going to be your line work. The XML is going to be your surface information. And the text file, or it could be a CSV file, that's going to be what you get from your surveyor that set control on your site. We highly recommend you pay a surveyor to set the control for the site. That way you know it's right, and make sure to let them know that you're using GPS to localize your site. That way, and I've seen this happen several times, where surveyors will put the control points way off in the woods and expect you to get service there. So talk to your surveyor, make sure you have enough control points around the site, and I'll get to that in a minute, and that it's in a spot where you can get good coverage when you go to measure that point. So now that we know that our USB stick is set up correctly, we are good to go to start importing these files and creating a project. This is the home screen of your tablet. In the top left, this is going to be your projects folder. So if we open up this folder, this is a list of all the projects that would be in your tablet. You're going to hit the plus to make a new one. We're going to name it. For me, it's just going to be test. Hit the green check. And then here we can import the data. We need to make sure that we are selecting our USB stick that it wants to import from. We need to be reference data, and we will select the XML and the DXF. Notice the over arrow. I like to select that to make sure that the units are correct to what I'm working with. For this particular project, we are in US survey feet, and then green check. Also, your control file is visible here, although it will not do you any good for control in reference data. We need to go to control and then select your text file here. Notice there's also an over arrow here. If you hit that, your field separator, most of the time it's going to be set to comma, which is most of the time correct. However, if whoever typed in your control and gave it to you set it to something different, this is where you can make the change. If you open up the text file, it's just going to be a notepad file. And this is how your control points would look. You're going to have an ID, and in this case, comma, northing, comma, easting, comma, elevation, and if it has it, comma, code. Then hit the green check, and it will upload everything you just selected. Okay, so key point of information right here. Surfaces 1. This is letting you know that it did import a surface. I've had it where we get surface files, your XML file, from different model builders, and sometimes they forget to assign the surface information to that XML. So it is possible to import a surface file without surface information. If that happens, you won't see surfaces 1. But in this case, we do, and it will be fine. This is your control points file, and it's saying that it imported successfully 21 points. Now it takes you back to the home screen, and I like to go to the Measure app just to get a look at the project we just imported. So each triangle is one of the 21 control points that was imported. You don't have to shoot all 21 of these. You just mainly need to get the perimeter of the job encompassed. So if you went from one point and drew a line to another point, and so on, that the entire job site would be inside that. This site seems to be cut off just a little bit, but my guess is with this being a new subdivision, there's probably woods line along the side, but won't know until you get out there. So what you would want to do from here, and this will be in another episode I'll go into more detail on, is find a good place to set your base post. You want it to be out in the open, but not in the way of everything else that's going on. That way you have good satellite coverage of the sky, not up against a building, not underneath power lines, not up against a tree line. Get a good, safe, open spot. So that's it for this episode.